Just by quick show of hands, has anybody heard of this in their lives? One, half. Okay, okay, two. Cool. That's better than I thought. Um, so this is again just my info if you need it later. And as I said, there's an outline because the presentation, but like in a short presentation card for the game, it's like this. It's a procedural science fiction game. And what we define by procedural is that somehow the content is generated on the fly by a computer mechanism. So it's not like, for instance, I hope you have played Pac-Man sometime in your life. Um, the levels are predefined. It's just the maze, and you cannot change it. In this kind of procedural games, the content is generated it, just at the moment that you reach it. So, for instance, in this particular game, one of the major pillars of it it's exploration. So once you hit a new planet, for instance, the whole ecosystem is generated at that point using random data and all the animals that live there and the plants and if there is water or not and all those kinds of things are generated on the fly. Um, so it's based on four main ideas: explore, fight, trade, and survival. I'm going to go through them in no specific order during the presentation, but again, if you have any question about it, you can just ask me. And it was developed by an English developer, an independent developer, and again, I'm not sure how knowledgeable are we, but an independent developer is just one that is not associated with one of the big companies like Electronic Arts or Atari or Activision. Okay, so these guys at Hello Games, there are like 10 people, and they made a couple of games. And this is one of them. And one of the interesting stories about the game is that it was actually announced a long time ago. The first time we saw footage of it was in 2013, then back in 2014. But as you can see, its release date was actually in 2016. So it took over 3 years of development from the earliest release to the from the earliest version to the first release. Okay, and as you can see, it works both for PC, which is what I'm hosting now, and PlayStation 4, and eventually, some couple of years later, it became available on Xbox One. And this platform Wii game, it's the Chinese platform for online games. So I guess it has some kind of censorship or it's been chopped at some parts in order to be available there. But it's interesting that it went even there. Okay. So some of the features that the game has is that the biggest idea, like the biggest, not idea, the biggest, what the most appalling thing is that it can generate up to 2 to the 64th power planets. Okay, that number is, I wrote it down here because I cannot read it. But as you can see, it has like a lot of numbers. So eventually, if you take like 1 hour to explore a planet, which will not be completed, it would take sometime like 400 years in order to see each planet that it can generate. That's why we're saying that it has infinite playtime. Okay, it's a truly open universe. If you can see something, you can go there. Again, there's planet trees, caves, animals, whatever, so you can go there. And in that sense, every entity that is generated is unique. It's based on survival, management of resources. There is a bit of building, like in Minecraft, but not to that extent. I mean, you can build some bases and some farming equipment and stuff like that. It is a shared universe in the sense that every discovery I make, every planet I visit or animal I represent, um, is uploaded to to a server where it will be somehow shared among all the players that go into the game. Okay, so the problem here is actually bumping randomly into people, because again, we have 2 to the 64 power planets. Everybody can start in a random position, so the probability that you find somebody out of random chance, it's very, very, very low. Okay, but if that happens, then that person can see all of the planets that I have discovered and so on. It has at least 4 environments that it dwells on: deep space things, thick forests or barren deserts. It can generate dark and deep oceans or high mountains or any kind of biosphere. Okay, and I'd like to drift off the normal presentation lines with this quote that we found after a while with Yamur from the Oxford English Dictionary about what is science fiction. Okay, so we find out that it's an imaginative fiction based on a postulated scientific discoveries or speculated environmental changes, frequently set in the future on other planets and involving space and time travel. Pretty much everything is covered by the game. So I emphasized some words that I'm going to address here. So let's talk about a bit about the scientific facts or speculations that the game can provide. Okay, so it has a lot of things. The first of all, this is not since this is not based on Earth. We don't have a specific time frame, like this is like 5 million years in the future or anything, but we can see that by our standards, it's an advanced time period where electronics and computers can be as tiny as nanobots or as big as huge mainframes. Okay, and here I put just some examples of that. There's a blueprint analyzer and some what was this, navigational relays, or the space station terminal where you can buy your the pieces of your bases and stuff like that. But it's something that it's pervasive. Okay, it's wide available everywhere. And the same happens with the spaceships. Okay, we have all kinds of spaceships, from tiny automated drones to one man or one person tripulated starships, or with huge freighters that can travel in between space systems. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but there are like tiny speckles of blue here, followed by a purple line. Can you kind of see that there in the photo? Here, I'm kind of pointing it here in the freighter. These tiny specks are these ships, so you can have some kind of comparison on size. Okay, and I have a tiny video here that I want to show you about kind of how it works. So this is, I think I'm gonna mute the audio for this.
You cannot see the video.
You cannot see the video.
I don't know about the others.
I think share screen you have done is specific to the program, so we're only seeing the presentation.
Okay, take 2. Oops. Okay, how about now? Okay, so this is just the footage of a ship taking off and going into the space. Okay, this is one of the one-manned ships, and you can see some of the panel displays that show the speed and the temperature and everything. But what I want you just to see here is how you can interact with the space, let's say. So you just get on your ship and you can take off at any point, and you can find sometimes interesting stuff, sometimes not so much. Yeah, for instance, here you can see one of the planets here with one of the moons in the background, another planet there, etc., etc. And a bit ahead here, I'm gonna skip this a bit more. there come two other ships into view. This time not from players, but from computer non-playable characters, just from. They will show up here on the right. See these tiny speckles? There's two other ships. We're gonna see that later. Okay, so there's a lot of spaceships again everywhere. Also, each planet hosts their own flora and fauna. If it's not a desertic planet or a planet where, I don't know, there was a catastrophe and there is no life anymore. So there is different kinds of biospheres. Again, this top, it's like one of the cold planets, and you can see there's some bioluminescent flowers, weird animals of all kinds and shapes that you can find. I have two small captures here of how you can identify plants. So for instance, there's this tiny stick here that I haven't met before. So it's being scanned, and at the end, you can find out here that the age is young and the structure is fractal and all kinds of silly things. Like for instance, it eats sublimated nitrogen. The plants usually eat sun, but this one eats sublimated nitrogen because it does. And it helps on generating clouds. Okay, so we can find all kind of in Star Trek they call this technobabble. Okay, it's scientific words that kind of make sense, but you put them into another place and it kind of becomes silly, but gives like a good atmosphere to all the rest of things. Okay, so there you can scan plants, and also the animals. As you can see, there's some animals here on the background, but I think I have another video here of how can you scan one of the animals. See, there's one of them there, but you can also turn to the sky, and eventually you will find birds if the planet holds them. This planet did, and there's some birds. And sometimes they're actually not birds, but things that fly. There will be a zoom there soon, so don't worry. Yeah, there you can see there the flies. And again, they have the silly things like, as you can see here, they eat dirt. They have translucent teeth. Okay, their gender is radical. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. And there's also the geological part involved in the scientific section. Because again, as the game generates the planets on the fly, you can find out all kinds of weird rocky formations or caves or mountains or minerals, right? And again, I have just here some screenshots of it, but I also have a short video on the exploration on a cave. And do you see those eggs there in the back, like these tiny red bubbly? I don't know how much are you guys into science fiction and movies and stuff, but does that remind you of something? These eggs? No? Very talkative group? No one? Everybody? Okay. No, that's it. These things, if you ever watch Alien or any of the Aliens movie, the xenomorphs get out of the eggs as a face hugger, just like kind of like a spider thing. This is very inspired on that. In this case, they don't contain aliens, but the way the egg is shaped and how it is opened, it's obviously drawn from that origin. Okay, and then you can pick up this. They have some pearls or something that you can trade later. Okay, but as you can see, this is a whole underground. This is just one random cave I found, and I went in, and there is again plants and maybe some animals around, and these weird eggs. Okay, and there's also the part about the space, about the astrophysics. So there's again different types of stars, main sequencers, red dwarfs, blue stars. Each of them have their own characteristics that would make planets different in each of those systems. Okay, you can find asteroid belts with minerals on them, black holes which you can go in, and even if nobody knows what happens, we have speculated that if you survive, you might end up somewhere else in the galaxy or something like that. Black holes here serve the purpose of traveling like that. And there's just a shot here of a space system, okay, of a star system. Now, I told about the futuristic setting a lot in the previous section, but I want to go like in particular here. You can see the things from outer space, which is again something that right now we cannot say that we have done. Okay, outer space is something beyond the solar system, and the only thing that we have built that has gone outside of that is the Voyager 2 probe, I think, and it went out of the solar system like, I don't know, like a couple of years ago. It was still transmitting, but that's all. I mean, it's a probe that has nothing on it. In here, you can find all kinds of weird stuff in space, like this huge skull of what they call space whales. There's just monsters that live in space. Again, anomalies like black holes and wormholes and stuff like that. And you can find other ships, other either fleets or players or from the computer. Okay. There can also be encounter with aliens. Okay. In this game in particular, there are, since again we're not talking about Earth or humans, there are at least four kinds of beings. These three, there are the normal ones. They're called the Gek, Korvax, and Viking, and they represent like different aspects. These guys are usually traders. These guys are usually scientists, and these guys are usually warriors, warriors or soldiers. These have a beak. It's like what happens if you mix like a dwarf with a lizard. You would get a Gek. Okay, they have like a beak. They have glands that expel smells. So it's weird because when you are talking with them, most of the dialogue says like, "Oh, and you smell like a faint scent of sweetness or something like that," which means that the guy's happy. Okay, or stuff like that. So they have a lot of extrasensorial communications. These Korvax are artificial beings. They are not carbon-based, and they share a collective mind. Again, much like the Borg in Star Trek, or there was another guys of these in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but I don't remember their name. There's a thing there that also shares this kind of hive mind between all of the subjects. And these other guys that are also bound by honor and war, and the weapons are the important part, more like that. But also you can find weird things that they are called travelers or anomalies, which are like the explorers in the game. These three types tend to settle, but these others are the explorers. So actually the protagonist, the player, is a traveler of those. You can change its appearance to look like a Viking or a Korvax, but it is like by canon, let's say, it's a traveler. Okay? And they have this urge to just know things and see things. Okay? That's pretty much the basic idea behind the main protagonist. It's like, okay, I'm here. What do? I have this itch to go and see things. Okay, and what things? Again, these strange new worlds, and you can see all kinds of weird planets. There are what I can call normal planets, which we can say it's like Earth-like planets. Okay, with grass and water and things that look like fishes or look like cows, or, like normal planets. But you can also find strange things like this. In this on the left circle, all of these hexagonal pieces are trees. And in this case, in the corner, all of this weird round bubbles are animals, or again, synthetic life forms. And I have here, again, footage of a normal kind of weird planet. Because as you can see, it has water, it has trees, but it's kind of reddish, right? I don't know if I actually land on this one. I don't recall. Let me check. Maybe. Maybe. Okay, it landed. Yeah, but I don't get up. Oh no, but you can see here. It's almost everything red because as you can see, the external temperature, it's around 60 degrees. So everything is kind of scorched. That's why it has this red, this kind of reddish light. Okay, but again, this is like a normal planet. This fence like that, those are trees, or what could be trees in this thing. Okay, and so on. Also, there's like, of course, traits of super advanced technology that we cannot even hope to begin to have, like transporters, you know, like this device that you step in one door and you appear in another place. Okay, or these huge robots like the Japanese anime robots, you know, like Messenger or Evangelion or all those guys. And other less harmful technologies like solar panel or energy generators, gas extractors from the atmosphere, and so on. And I have another take here, but I don't remember what it is, so let's see it. Ah, yeah. And there's also this idea of a very advanced technology that looks really old. Okay, so this is, for instance, what they call a monolith. And again, this is also very hintful from 2001 Space Odyssey, you know, with the monolith in the planet. If you didn't see it, go see it. That's homework too. In these monoliths in the game, you can obtain somehow knowledge of the past. Okay, but it's a technological device. So it's something that was done years and years and years ago. You don't have any idea how it works. You can make it work, and somehow you gain knowledge. Okay, so there's also this idea of like very advanced technology from very old civilizations. Okay, which is often found in, again, science fiction, or not so much science fiction-y, but again, all this gossip like, no, the pyramids were built by the aliens because we couldn't do it, and the Mayans also talked with the aliens because they had foreheads, like, you know. So it's this idea. There's all kind of space stations. This one was actually built by a user. There's another space station called the Anomaly, which just shows up randomly, and it's where players usually meet. It's like the lobby for the multiplayer section. Why? Because, as I told you guys, since we have 2 to the 24th power planets, it's very uncommon to just bump into somebody. So if you want to meet someone, you just go to the Anomaly, and there you can see a lot of players. And this image kind of was cut, but here at the corner, there's another station that you can visit, and in each station, you can do different kinds of things. You can do trading, or you can upgrade the technologies on your ship or on your spacesuit. Okay. And another interesting thing that you can find while exploring is crashed starships. Okay, so you can again find tiny ships crashed in the ground, or huge freighters that somehow descended into the atmosphere, were drawn by the planet and broke down, and debris everywhere. You can find cargo and all kinds of things. Okay. Now, the last section I want to dig in is this imaginative plot, because even if you have all of these elements that I have spoke so far, if you don't have like a captivating story, it will end up being just lame somehow. Okay. In this case, one of the major thing is, again, survival. So there is a ton of materials that you can pick up. Some are based in real life, some are not. So like you can get carbon and cobalt and ferrites, which is iron, sodium. but then there's other weird elements that you can do and mix and create new kind of stuff. Here I just show you how you can see, wait, stop. Yeah. Here in the corner, there's a tiny heart. I don't know if you can see it. This is a gauge about the oxygen you have. Right now, I'm gonna leave this out so you can see it. The gauge is out, so there's no more oxygen. And here on the top, this is like the life meter. So since I don't have oxygen, I cannot breathe and I will start dying, okay? So this is just to show you how easily you can die if you don't have, see it says life support offline, and then my bar went out, so I take one of my conveniently stored oxygen things and put it in my suit, okay? So what do I want to say with this? The thing is, you need to plan ahead in order to be able to survive. You cannot just go out and explore, because you can easily run out of supplies very soon, and then you will be in a problem. The game starts with you being alone, lost, and without memory, okay? You awake in a crash site, in a weird planet, and you know nothing. So you start walking around, your spacesuit starts telling you things like, oh, I can see a distress call this way, you should go that way. Your ship it's this way, so you can go check the ship, what happened to the ship. There's a log, you see the log, etc. You make contact with strangers, okay? You find other aliens on planets, you meet up with different people and try to solve like community-based missions or quests, okay, that further the story ahead, okay? Also, you can build relationships with the alien races. In here, I'm gonna do something you should not do ever, like read from the presentations, but it's very important here because of what it says. For instance, in this top square, I have found a Viking warrior that says it's silent for a moment and looks at me conspirationally. Obviously, the guy was doing something bad, but I can threaten to report him or try to bribe him with isotopes or give him money. And each of these decisions will lead to a different outcome that in the short term will give me something, but in the long term will start to build a relationship with that race, okay, and build a reputation. Also, they can teach me actually language, words from their language, because when you start the game and you approach an alien, the words they say are completely garbled. As you can see here, this is the dialogue with him, see? And this is pretty much how I see Turkish every time you guys speak, because I don't talk Turkish still. So it says, Reilha Sashalaka Adaki Ime Sai Sutupetudika. See, so you don't know anything. How do you know? You don't know if this guy is wanting to, I don't know, sell you like a timeshare at the beach or I don't know. But you can ask for help, like kind of in a hand signs, and they can teach you stuff. So here I just ask him to teach me a trade symbol or a word that conveniently was the word for actual trade. But it could have been something like barter or money or market, those kinds of words, okay? And the more you learn of the language, the more quests are available to you, because you understand more what the guys are telling you, and not just the right, the garbage there, okay? Cool. Also, the aliens kind of like you if you start to learn their language somehow. And also you can find, again, another type of interaction here. This is with one of the scientific guys, the Corvex, and it says, a sharp metal needle emerges from the palm of the life form's hand. It moves so fast that it's already inches from my forehead before I can blink. So the guy wants to take a piece of my brain. Okay, so here I can actually refuse or allow, or I can take the thing and do it by myself. Again, they all have an outcome. It might be painful in terms of the game, as in I lose health, or I learned something because the guy put something in my brain that transmitted knowledge, something weird like that. Okay. So as the story progresses, you find out I don't know if I should tell you this because this is kind of like the super spoiler alert. So if you don't want to know, just leave right now, mute me. But the thing is, eventually you realize that your whole universe is actually a computer simulation, and you are a piece of software. The kind of piece of software that is able to travel between simulations. This is Artemis, which is one of the other important characters. He is also a traveler in one of these software pieces, but this one is kind of breaking down. Okay, as you can see the dialogue, it says, Artemis repeats their words again and again, our conversation all but forgotten. They stare at me, their eyes pained, their mind trapped in an endless loop. The thing is, Artemis doesn't know anymore who I am and just keeps, again, rebooting and rebooting and rebooting, okay? So you have to make decisions there, like you find out that Artemis is not in my universe, but in another simulated one. But since I can travel in between them, I can speak with him. Actually, this is one of the other interesting things of the game. Artemis has no gender, so they refer to him as they, as you can see here. They stare at me. So Artemis, we can decide to end the simulation Artemis is in. So he can find peace, right? But again, it's a piece of software, so we don't really know that. Or we can move Artemis to our simulation. It will mess with his head, but it might give him some kind of freedom. Or you can just leave him there. Okay, it's very metaphysical at some point. Okay, and you start seeing the number 16 everywhere in the game. Not because I'm crazy, no. It's because it's made by that. As you can see here, there is a weird terminal here with some kind of tentacles and stuff. That the interaction is 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, right? Here in the bottom one, there is an escape capsule from a ship. Among the other things it says vessel 16 emptied. Okay, so the number 16 is important. Again, huge spoiler. The thing is, the mainframe where the simulations are working is beginning to fail. And it only has 16 minutes of life left. And all of the universe will collapse. The thing is, you don't know this 16 minutes, if it's in my time or the time where the computer is, or if the time frame of another simulation. So you don't know anything about this 16 minutes. Obviously, this is just a plot hook in order to get you like going on. Because again, the end of the game, it's nothing. It doesn't have any particular ending. It's your urge to explore and discover and see. And this is actually one of the biggest critics of the game. The game actually doesn't have any definite ending. It ends when you stop playing. When you say, I don't want to explore anymore, I'm bored, I'm going to go play Street Fighter or whatever. Okay. Or you die, for instance. But one of the thing is, when you die, since you're a piece of software, you don't actually die. You just reboot somewhere else. Okay. So yeah, and you find along the way these huge portals, these huge monoliths with like a Stargate. I don't know if you guys have seen Stargate ever. Okay, go see Stargate again. It's like I don't remember very well. It's like the aliens came into ancient Egypt through some kind of portals, round portals with blue lights, which are conveniently similar to this one. So again, see how this is drawing from other science fiction works. Okay, we already have Alien, Stargate, and okay, etc. So you just have to keep going and keep exploring. Okay, both because this is the what the goal of the game, and because the traveler itself, well, the race of travelers have these urge. Okay, this is what they are meant to do. So I taken a lot of time. I guess it was not 20 minutes, but I'm gonna end up with this quote I found by Ivan Coleman that says, take a scientific fact or theory at a futuristic or otherworldly setting, insert an imaginative plot and fascinating characters, in a science fiction novel, in this case, any kind of media actually, emerge from the cosmic mix. So if you have to live with something here, is that the best authors in science fiction turn what if into why not? Okay, and this is one of the things I really like about this game. It's really plausible for me. Okay, I know I'm not pretty much standard, probably not, but for me, it actually makes. I think it might be somehow possible that this happens somewhere, sometime. Not now, not here, but somewhere. Okay, so this is all for me right now. If you have any questions, comments, complaints, or please address them to Yamur, not